When I started off at the London College of Printing doing graphic design, and although there was a small animation component, it didn't interest me very much. I think we did a very slight, about like a 4-second workshop, and I just thought this is really boring. And I never really thought I would get into animation. And then I went off to the Royal College, and when I applied to do graphics at the Royal College, I knew it wasn't at that time a fantastic graphic design course. It was a bit kind of woolly. But I thought it was a good plan to get to the Royal College, because I knew I wanted to do lots of interesting things, but I wasn't quite sure exactly what that was. And I sort of felt like I could have got a job as a professional graphic designer. I was a pretty, competent graphic designer. I did really well got a first and everything in graphic design. Anyway, I got to the Royal College, and I had a friend who was in the film school. And one day he said to me, "You've got to come over to the film school. They've got a fantastic rostrum camera there, and no one's using it, and your stuff would really lend itself to animation." And I said, well, maybe. And then one day, Bob Godfrey and Dick Taylor turned up at the Royal College to do a sort of animation presentation, which was supposed to lead to a little animation workshop for the graphic design and illustration students. At that time, there was no animation course at the Royal College at all. So we all went along to this talk, and I remember thinking, God, this is a bit boring, actually. And I spent most of the time drawing Bob Godfrey and Dick Taylor, and I still have the drawings, actually. And then, at the end of it, I thought, oh, well, I might as well do it, give it a go, because they were really good characters, particularly Bob Godfrey. And so we all went away. I think there were about sort of 30 of us planning to make these films, and they had a small budget for the whole lot. Anyway, so we kind of went away, came up with some ideas, but then Bob and Dick went away, and we were left with this graphic design tutor to sort of supervise. And she was a real miserable old cow. And she went around everybody's work and just said, "Oh no, that's not very good. Oh no, you can't do that. It was too complicated for animation." And she said to me, "Oh, you can't draw. I don't know why you want to do this idea." And I had this idea to do this film called Ilkney Moor Bar Tat, which was based on the Yorkshire song, a kind of circular song. And I thought that was a really good idea for a first piece, which was more or less like an exercise. And she said, "I don't know why you want to do that rubbish, stupid song." And I had this other idea called Madam Potato, which was a story I'd written, which I thought would make a good film, but I didn't want to do it for the very first project. She said, "Why don't you do Madam Potato?" And I said, "No, I'm not doing Madam Potato, I'm doing this other idea." But I got really despondent, like all the other people. And I just got all my stuff, like all my sort of artwork that I was working on, and I just decided I was going to walk out of college, and I went off to the Lake District to see a friend who was a Buddhist in a kind of Buddhist monastery place. And I went up there all fed up and said, "I'm going to chuck in doing this animation, I'm crap, I can't draw, the tutor says it's a stupid idea." And my friend said, "Look, why are you taking any notice of her? What does she know? She's obviously got some kind of issue." So I got sort of a bit, I felt a bit better, got back to London. I thought, oh, I suppose maybe I should do it. I wasn't quite sure, but I went back into college, and when I got to my desk in graphics, it was absolutely covered in little drawings and notes from Bob Godfrey, and they were like Bob Godfrey dressed up as my character from my film saying, "Where are you?" And then there's another one getting more desperate. "They won't pay me. I've got no one to teach." Everyone had given up except for me. And I thought, oh, I've got to get on with it. So I went and saw my friend who was at the film school, and I told him the situation, that I was going to carry on. And I shot a bit of stuff on colour reversal. It's a film stock they used to have in the old days, which you didn't use a negative. It was just one kind of positive film stock, which wasn't very good. And it was a brilliant bit of animation, or that everyone thought so. So he went with me to see the head of the film school and said, "Look, all these other people, all 30 of them, have given up the animation. Why don't you let Emma have all the money to do her film?" And he said, all right, as long as you help her with the sort of editing and stuff. And so that's how it happened, and that was how I started. Probably Pogle's Wood, which is, you know, Pogle's Wood, which is Oliver Postgate and Peter Firmin, probably two of the most brilliant animators ever. And, you know, it's just like, there was just like wonderful world of these like little creatures in the woods, and they're still my favourite. I think, you know, I think that it's just like the whole, yeah, it's probably that, because all the other stuff I didn't like much anyway. It was Andy Pandy with the strings and stuff, so. Well, whether it would be Pogle's, I mean, I'd love to have got, I don't know whether I would have liked to have worked on that really, because they were kind of a very two-man gang. I must admit, Coraline was an amazing film, and when I saw, I think it was I can't remember the name of the guy, but he was I think he was the kind of production, he was either the production manager, but he was the person who was responsible for getting all the technical side of that working. And he was like kind of talking about how they'd sculpted all the heads and how they'd done all the 3D prototyping. I mean, that film is so obsessively brilliant and kind of not actually very suitable for children, but it's just, I think, yeah, I just love the idea of the way they did a lot of the sets on that. I mean, that would have been a fun film to have worked on, that if I'd have been working as an assistant or a model maker or whatever. Well, I think it's really good that Martin's doing it actually, because it's like, I think it's really sort of, it's growing and strengthening. And when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, you know, animation club, what sort of stuff's going to be shown there? And it's quite easy if you are kind of working professionally to think, oh well, you know, maybe it's rather maybe it's kind of amateurish kind of films being shown and stuff. But when I went along, I was quite impressed by some of the work actually. It was really interesting combination of work, and I think it's just very good, because at the moment, you know, it's quite hard for short filmmakers, and in a sense things have actually gone full circle, where they've actually, you know, people are doing this sort of work often after they've worked in the day doing something else, which is how it was, you know, in the 50s and 60s before, you know, and 70s. I met Alison DeVere, who's quite a famous animator in that period, and she did all her short films after she'd been doing animation and paint and trace and stuff like that during the day in a you know, commercial studio. So it's a bit sad really that we've lost you know, that there's so little decent money for shorts, and so much has gone, it's kind of top end, bottom low or whatever.